Has this ever happened to you? Oh, the Xenoblade trilogy was incredible. I'm so sad that it's over. Play Trails, it's peak. I like Dragon Quest, but I wish the stories were a little better. Play Trails, it's peak. Man, why can't Final Fantasy be turn-based for at least 13 more games? Play Trails, it's peak. I'm kinda interested in Trails, but I don't want to go all the way back to the beginning of that. You don't have an excuse anymore. If you love JRPGs, I'm sure you can relate. Despite how extremely niche they are, Falcom somehow keeps cranking out games, and their audience keeps flooding each message board. I mean, they basically took over the JRPG subreddit. Funnily enough, the best way to describe the Trails fandom is First Chapter's review scores. It currently has a whopping 90 on OpenCritic, but with a relatively low number of 50 reviewers, most of whom are already Trails fans. I think we can all agree that we need more fresh blood in this community, so I have taken it upon myself to review First Chapter from the lens of a newcomer only. I don't know what's different, I don't know what's not, and quite frankly, I don't care. To me, this is not a remake of a beloved classic. This is an authentic, first-time experience. Quick disclaimer, I am playing the Switch 2 edition, which frustratingly does not run at a stable 60 frames per second, and despite what the eShop implies, there's no option to lock it at 30. I wouldn't say it ever bothered me, especially when the upgrade is a single dollar, but you know, everyone is different when it comes to frame drops. With that out of the way, let's begin the review. In the kingdom of Liberl, it is the duty of a bracer to protect the citizens by specializing in combat and investigation. Our protagonists, Estelle and Joshua Bright, venture off to climb the bracer ranks just like their father before them. A legacy they soon discover carries far more weight than expected. I've gotta admit, I was in awe when I started First Chapter. Not because it was so good, but because it is so anime. It is immediately packed with cartoony humor, cliché personalities, and an overall lighthearted vibe. Let's put it this way, this game has both a school festival and a hot spring scene. Now to be fair, Trails in the Sky is a product of the early 2000s, before all of this became such recognizable tropes. Besides, what ends up feeling the most outdated is, ironically, the all-new voice acting. While the English dub isn't bad, the voice direction can be somewhat awkward with dialogue that might not even match the script.
Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for your patience. Here is our team in the Azure Corner.
What is most egregious though is the occasional cutscene that is only slightly voice acted, as in not everybody is speaking out loud. It usually happens when a character is being introduced, and I guess it's a way to save up on the budget while still highlighting that character, but I'm sorry, it's really jarring. They should have saved more money by just keeping everyone silent.
I gotta be up early tomorrow, so I'm gonna hit the hay. You brats should get some rest too. Oh, shut the hell up.
Anyone who knows me should know that I can handle an English dub that's rough around the edges. But there was one individual who took a while to get used to, and unfortunately, she's the main character, Estelle. Estelle has somewhat of a ditzy personality, to say the least, and her voice direction made sure there was no mistaking that.
Oh, Joshua, don't get all sobby. This calls for a celebration! Who you calling brats? I'm a fair young lady. Delicioso! Now that's what I call seaside food.
Maybe I'm just a hater, but it is so over the top. She sounds like a minor character who's supposed to be annoying.
Come, Joshua. Don't get all sobby. This calls for a celebration. Who you calling brats? I'm a fair young lady. Delicioso! Now that's what I call seaside food.
We'll get more into the story a bit later, but rest assured, that does not take away from Estelle as a character. I did not misspeak earlier. She truly is the main protagonist, and that is so refreshing. Think of any female protagonist in a video game with combat. Odds are she's calm, collected, and most of all, badass. Estelle is none of those things. She is unabashedly immature and naive. And that's what makes her so great. She's a female lead who's allowed to be young and girly. She's allowed to be clearly flawed. When the most viral film of the year is K-pop Demon Hunters, the world is more than ready for a female protagonist who can look and act like a gremlin. I will always respect Trails in the Sky for being ahead of its time by putting a girl like Estelle at the forefront. If you thought that was a tonal whiplash, you ain't seen nothing yet. Let's get on to the actual gameplay, which makes a strong first impression right off the bat. As part of the Bracer Guild, Estelle and Joshua can take on various assignments on a bulletin board. While most of them are your run-of-the-mill side quests, you'll always be motivated to do them if only to increase your Bracer rank. Not only does each rank bestow a valuable reward, but there's also a seemingly endless list of achievements that will gradually compensate. And of course, that's not even getting into the slew of enticing treasure chests in the overworld and dungeons. Don't expect any fancy gimmicks here. What cements the gameplay loop is its refined momentum. There's an addictive speed to the exploration that never has to derail unless the player opts to engage in combat. It'll often suffice to merely attack and dodge on the field, but naturally, the Trails fandom takes pride in its turn-based battle system. The party has a wide selection of physical and magic skills, both of which are adorned by high-quality animations. But unlike traditional turn-based combat, positioning is key. Your actions have a limited range of effect and often require a specific angle to get the most bang for your buck. This diligence is imperative to building your opponent's stun gauge, and by completing the stun, or by landing a critical hit, the party will be able to join together for increasing degrees of follow-up attacks. It's exciting once you get into its rhythm, but there are a few nagging issues I had. For one, this is not your standard RPG magic. It generally requires a few turns in order to cast. But by then, there's a decent chance the enemy will have either interrupted it or simply moved out of its range. What seems like risk and reward ends up feeling oddly sluggish. For instance, why would I wait to cast healing magic when I can just use an item right now? I'm assuming it was designed this way because magic isn't gained by leveling up. Instead, it is tied to equipment known as orbments. Since it doesn't take long to find highly potent orbments, I suppose there had to be some drawback in using magic. While I'm willing to compromise here, there is a hill I'm willing to die on. The boss battles are cheap. They typically begin with a powerful AoE, and as much as I like seeing the turn order in a JRPG, it may as well mean nothing during a boss fight. I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation, but come on, look at this. It both looks and feels like they're just spamming turns. You will get used to it after a while, but it is kinda lame. By the way, on a personal note, I hate it when reinforcements can be summoned out of nowhere, and well, first chapter has plenty of those. But I guess there had to be some sort of tension, because outside of boss battles, there is zero urgency. Normally, turn-based battles can only be activated by the player or a boss fight. Monsters can try to hit you in the field, but good luck when our dodge is hysterically overpowered. Even if you bite off more than you can chew, escaping a battle is free of charge. Still, these are all minor criticisms at worst. Trails fans should be proud of their battle system, because at the very least, this one is pretty dang fantastic. It manages to be strategic and methodical, yet swift and elegant. The decades of history in this franchise is tangible in its polish. While it is initially overwhelming with all of the terms and resources lying around, the adrenaline they devise is intuitive. I am a sucker for any game with follow-up attacks, and especially once you've gained a lot of passive abilities, each turn becomes an opportunity for a thrilling chain of events. I wouldn't say it's my all-time favorite turn-based battle system, but I'll tell you what, it's the best one this year. Most importantly, first chapter gets you into the action at a better pace than your standard JRPG. In terms of the gameplay, because everything else is a slow burn. Perhaps my biggest gripe about this game is the lack of variety in the environments. JRPGs are known for their imaginative world design, but first chapter is covered in generic grass, and more generic grass. Look, I understand that we are entirely localized within the kingdom of Liberl, and the sequels will introduce more creative diversity, but just because the setting is focused doesn't mean it has to be boring. None of the landmarks stand out as impressive. Even the most technologically advanced city is more of the same. The least you can do is have a distinguishable soundtrack, but first chapters is surprisingly limited. When we have to walk through the same types of environments over and over, it doesn't quite feel like we're making much progress on our journey. And it sure doesn't help that we aren't. Most of the runtime is dedicated to world building. The stakes are absolutely minimal until the very final act. Yes, JRPGs are also known for slow beginnings. Take Persona for example. Persona is notorious for its slow beginning, and has a slow pace overall due to its calendar system. But at least with Persona, you know for a fact that every month is going to have a significant climax, whereas all you have with first chapter is the internet telling you its peak. The narrative itself does not inspire determination to see it through. It doesn't do a great job at conveying its potential, especially when the twists here are largely predictable. To prove my point here, let's take another look at Estelle. I won't take back anything I've already said about her, and I have no doubts that her future is, no pun intended, bright. But strictly speaking, within the confines of first chapter, she really isn't that interesting. Because of the leisurely pace, there isn't much material for her yet. She's supposed to be this impulsive underdog who slowly matures, but her inexperience doesn't have any real consequence. It's mostly dumbed down to a running gag, as in she literally looks dumb throughout the whole game. She even has a catchphrase that sums up how over the top her voice is. This is only accentuated by the difference in internal conflict between the siblings. Joshua is full of baggage, and in hindsight, it makes total sense for that to be prioritized. But in the meantime, what type of deep personal matter is Estelle struggling with? Is it the death of her mother? Nope. It's a crush on Joshua. Yay. For the record, Joshua was adopted into their family. Take that how you will. I don't care to argue about morals or ethics or whatever. The problem that I have is I don't care, period. I actually loved the sibling dynamic. That is such a unique take on a JRPG. So for that to turn into a cliché childhood crush is not only disappointing, but it underscores how mundane first chapter can be. And I have to reiterate very clearly, it being the first chapter of 3 is no excuse. Final Fantasy VII Remake padded out a 5-hour prologue into a 20-hour game, and still, the plot is much more eventful with memorable level design in spite of its confined setting. Don't get me wrong, I am excited to play the sequel. First chapter ends on a fascinating note. I just wish I didn't have to wait until the end to be excited. So with all of that being said, how does it feel now that I've been finally introduced to Peak? Well, I'll give you this. It is indeed peak JRPG. Trails in the Sky first chapter is everything a JRPG is both loved and hated for. Its riveting turn-based combat is surrounded by a world of charming characters and a detailed political drama. But its lackadaisical pacing and spontaneous anime tropes are exactly what made this genre so controversial in the first place. While I did enjoy my time with it, I also respect yours. It is genuinely hard to recommend a game that's essentially 30 to 40 hours of exposition when we currently live in an era of Game of the Year contenders every other week. Even if we're just counting JRPGs, there are so many other games I would rather suggest first. All that being said, there is still very much a place for Trails in the Sky. In no way has it been replaced. If you are in the mood for a cozy slice of life that eventually has a good story, then first chapter belongs at the very top of your lists. Please check out the demo of the prologue if you're interested, and feel free to use those speed up options anytime you'd like. Do I sincerely believe that this is going to bring about a huge wave of newcomers into the franchise? No, not really, but I am so grateful it exists. If you haven't heard by now, I have been dealing with some health issues for about a month now, so this was a great way to take my mind off things. So whether you're a Trails veteran or an aspiring newcomer, I hope you will join me in doing our best Estelle impression as we look forward to her adventures in the upcoming second chapter. 3, 2, 1. What?